Well, this morning I showed around two of these devices, and afterwards I saw a lot of question marks in your eyes. What the hell is that? Well, the purpose of it was to wake your interest. I went across this thing just 3 days before departing from Germany, and I quickly adopted it and tried, oh, it may be of interest. This morning I realized a lot of you are already using the WP340S. Okay, that's also one of these do-it-your-own calculators projects from Walter von Pauli and Marco von Cube. This calculator has some weaknesses, of course. Memory is always tight, as in previous times, and the display is not really bright, very limited. So the idea from the very outset, when they were finished with the 340S, was to develop the WP43S. That's the idea. Walter Bonin was very eager to do this. But unfortunately, there was no hardware available unless Swiss Micros came out with their DM42. And this re-engaged Walter again, and they are working very hard on the WP43S. Now this is not, of course. So, yeah, this is how this thing should look like, finally, somehow. Okay. Based on the hardware of the DM42, there should be a new calculator with WP43S. But as you can see, quite obviously, the keyboard layout does not at all fit what's presently on the DM42, like we just have seen with the DM41X. That's also completely different, although it's the identical hardware. The WP43 is a work in progress. No idea when that will be ready. But it may be that a lot of you are curious about, hey, what's going on there? How does it work? What does it do? And it happened that a guy from South Africa, Jacko Mastert, he saw there's a gap that needs to be filled. What he is going to achieve is to take the development of the WP43 in its present stage and add a specific user interface to this software that complies not entirely, but very much with the current layout of the DM42. And that is this one. Well, when you look at it, you see a lot of blue labels that are not available. But for orientation, there is a layout available by Swiss Micros on the forum of Swiss Micros under the title Alternative Key Layout for the WP43. What a name. It's on page 50 of that discussion. 50 pages of discussion already on that subject. It's post 286.
That was just keyboard layout too.
That's keyboard layout. So was it? It's almost identical with this. This is a light. Oh. Almost identical, but you see small differences here and here to the DM42 layout, and the setup label is set to home on the DM42. You may wonder what's going on with the blue labels. It doesn't have a blue shift key. So, Jaco decided we make the yellow key toggle between three planes. Normal plane, push it once, it addresses the yellow markings, push it again, then it addresses the blue labels. Other than on DM42, we have 3 lines, maximum 3 lines of functions related to the function key here. So the lower line is no function key is pressed, no shift key is pressed. The second line is the function key, the shift key is pressed once. Upper line, the shift key is pressed twice. When you press the shift key once again, it's back to not shifted at all. He calls his design WP340C, C then for classic, to distinguish it from the WP34S, which is the design of water.
Oh, so it's, I get confused between 34, 340 and 34.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm always talking about the 43, regardless what I say.
Yes, dear.
The 34 was in the introduction when I referred to what's on the hands already. Thank you for making me that aware. I hear something like that all the time at home.
But you still married her.
Yeah. Now, as I said, the blue labels are not available on the DM42 layout, as we have it here. But there's rescue at hand. When you select the home function here, you will have 3 lines like presented here, but then with the up and down arrows, you can scroll through a lot of functions and submenus, so you will have access to all the functions and menus that you usually can access by pressing F, the function, the shift key twice to get access to the blue functions or blue menus. So this is very handy for those who would like to have a hands-on the new calculator. Now, some of you have been following the discussion on the HP forum a couple of a time ago, where we had very severe discussions about GPL, where Swiss Micros then was forced to follow the GPL rules, and as a consequence, they split their software between the underlying operation system, which is DMCP, DM Control Program, that's the operating system, and on this operating system runs the program, which is the version of 342 that is created by Thomas Aken and adjusted by Swiss Micros to fit the DM42. because it is done this way, the 342 program can be changed against the W43C program. I got it right this time. So, but again, in addition to that, you are not limited to say, I have either this software on my calculator or have that software on my calculator. You can load from the Swiss Micros homepage the actual 342 program into the root directory. And in addition to that, you can load the WP43C program into the calculator, in the root directory. Now, when you go to the setup menu of the 42, you can go to the DCMP menu. And in that menu, you can load one program, the WP43C program, and run it, and then you have what you see here, which doesn't look like anything you are accustomed to with the DM42. Now you are done with your experimentation with the calculator. Then you go to the modes menu here on the WP43C modes menu, and there you push once the up key, and then you would see here system. And there you can go back to the DMCP, DM control program, and switch to the other software, just on the fly. And that even works when the calculator is operating on the coin cell. Although I would suggest you better hook it to the USB. I think the flashing process and loading process takes more power than normal operations. But it's very handy. So if you're curious what's going on with the software that is in progress, you can do it easily on the hardware you have available already, once you have a DM42. If not, go ahead and buy one. Okay.
On the 43, you can assume that all of the math functions and specifications would be using the same specifications as the DM42.
No, it's a complete different machine.
Yeah, but from the accuracy perspective.
No.
Oh, really?
No. For instance, here it is. You have 64.2. That is, the word length is 64 words. So the accuracy exceeds by far the 42. Those people here familiar with the 334, this time really 34, they have experience with the accuracy of the 34. That is overwhelming, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the 43 will have more in common with the 34 than with the 42, to the better side. Although we can't complain about the 42 on the accuracy. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all. I just wanted to give you as an introduction what's going on with that, and maybe you are now more interested to have the thing in your hands again. So I would be happy to pass the two calculators around so you can have a closer look if it does work like just explained. A lot of functions, when you press, will simply answer not coded yet. Work in progress. Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Jake,
What's happening with the keyboard overlay for the 43C? Does that exist?
The keyboard,
yeah.
the keyboard overlay of the 43C?
Yeah, that layout right there.
Yeah, but it doesn't exist now. No. As I mentioned, the objective is to be as close as possible to the 42, and if you wish to have an orientation what the blue side is, have a printout available. It doesn't make sense to make an overlay in high quality because this thing will not live forever. The 43 will come in life, and then you won't like to have things like that, I guess.
The difference is that the 42 and the 43 keys are different. So one of the thrusts here is to make an overlay that works with the built-in 42 keys with putting different labels on the shift functions, whereas the 43S will have different keyboard itself.
Right, but even with this, I wouldn't like to have to look at a picture alongside of the
No,
calculator.
no, you're right, yeah,
It
yeah.
would be nicer to just even temporarily throw a
So-
cover over it.
There was a guy working on it.
Here, back now to the S version. Okay, and the other version is thinkly, let's say, make more appetite.
So I'm confused.
So, Richard, now it's your turn.
So,
Okay, US.
the desired end result is to have a new piece of hardware with this design.
Partly, like with the 41 that Bob just showed. The hardware, in principle, is the same.
Right.
The layout produced then by Swiss Micros, that will be adjusted to the specific calculator. Then you will have the DM42, you will have the DM41X, and you will have the WP or DM, I don't know, 43S. That's the final stage we are looking forward to.
Well, I'm trying to think of the positioning and the relative costs of the three machines. I mean, if you're going to sell to somebody, you would say, oh, you are solving these kinds of problems, this is the best machine. You don't need programming, this is the best machine, etc.
Well, it has to be seen. What's the same question with the 41X, will that be a market? I don't know. But we have a bunch of people that say, I must have this just because it's available.
But that's not very many.
So, other questions somewhere?
I think you answered it, Günter, is that Swiss Micros is planning on making this with a cover that matches similar to this, right?
So,
Well, I can't say that they definitely are planning with that, but they are involved and they are waiting what is coming out. So Swiss Micros is, as to my knowledge, not yet involved in any development of the WP43S. But there is another meeting regularly in Europe, in Basel, in Switzerland, every 2 years, where we met, and Swiss Micros is open to create that specific machine. 2 years ago, when I introduced the DM42, Michael told me that the minimum number of calculators they would create specifically is 50 pieces. So it's not a big number. So I assume there will be a 43S once the software is mature enough.
It's easy to silk screen a new silk screen on a piece of metal and put new software. That's pretty straightforward.
It's just a faceplate and the keys. The keys can be shuffled around and still on.
It's not clear right now. The 43C is basically the 34S, the WP34 adapted to the 42.
No.
No.
I added to the confusion. As someone mentioned, are you talking about the 43 or the 34? Now, this software is in the stage that is WP43S from Waterboning and
Well, but this is a
Martin.
project okay, my understanding was that 34S was in development, okay, and the programmers, one is a French and that's the 43S.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're talking about the 43C.
Yeah, the 43C is just changing the user interface,
That's what I
not
said.
the calculator behind it.
Okay, so the
It's
user.
changing key mappings to use a 42 unchanged keyboard, because the keys are different. What's printed on the keys is different between 42 and 43.
Let's try to
Go back and forth.
let's try to get beyond the confusion. Your question was, if I got it correctly, if this is based on the WP34.
That's what I thought.
That's not.
Okay,
It is based on the WP43S. Just the user interface is changed by Jacko Mastered.
okay, so this is basically the 43S, but with a different keyboard, it becomes the 43C.
Yes.
Okay, so both are unfinished product.
Yes.
Well, but since the first one is unfinished
Yes.
development,
The 43S is unfinished, and the 43C is as unfinished as the S is unfinished in that time. Once the S is finished with the underlying calculator engine, then the C is finished also.
yeah, that's
It's,
okay.
it's simply
Just the
dependent.
same- different keyboards set
Yeah.
up, but the same
Uh-huh.
calculator behind.
And Jacko has selected the appendix C, just to make clear, it is almost the same, but with a different interface.
Okay.
Okay? Did this solve the confusion? Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.